I'm making a movie about the pressure to be great. And I think most movies are about, or at least most sports movies, are about the come up. They're about the guy coming from nothing and getting to the pinnacle, basically. But there's not as many stories about someone that's fallen off the pinnacle due to the pressure, due to various circumstances. And that's what this story that I'm making, Wildcard, is about. It's about, a professional tennis player that reached the peak and then through addiction and other things, basically fell down, got suspended, and has to start over. And it follows her as she's healing her, family dynamics and the complicated relationships with the brother and her father/coach, while dealing with, the addiction and all the fallout from that. And I think that's what's really unique about this story and why I'm excited to tell it. And it's really, I'd say really relevant to me and obviously personal, and why I want to direct it, because, I grew up with this idea of wanting to be great and this pressure to be great. And my whole life at the time was about tennis, and it was about being the best. And I my whole life was training, and I was doing that 30 hours a week from the age of 8, 9, 10 years old, and all the way till 22, 23, 24, whatever. It was so nearly 15, 16 years really full-time training. And I had some success. I got up to number 8 in Belgium in the 16 and under, which was cool. And played D1 college, but definitely for me at the time fell really short of what I was going for. Like, I didn't achieve my dream, and that was really hard for me to deal with after college as well, and then not going really pro. It took me a really long time to kind of find something else I was passionate about. I think the pressure and the disappointment and stuff is something that doesn't get talked about a lot, and how to deal with thinking that you should have been somewhere else, or you should have been further, or whatever. And I think that's a very universal theme. I think a lot of people feel like they think their life could have been different, or should have been different, or they should have achieved more, or whatever. And I think it's a real thing. And that's what this story is about. And it follows this professional tennis player that's dealing with this, and who's actually gotten a big taste of the peak, which I think is even harder than to fall all the way down and to try to get back up and potentially not be able to regain that peak again. You know what I mean? So I think that story makes it very universal, and it's why I'm excited to kind of share this journey with you guys and make these videos, like, as I'm building this, and because we're shooting in November, and through the script phase, casting and everything, and showing every step of the way, including kind of my own thoughts and why it's important to me and why it's relevant to me, which I'm doing here. Like I said, most sports movies, they're really building either through a comeback and about the win, or about reaching this pinnacle again. It's really that type of story. If you think of films like Rocky, that's a good example. It's really about these underdog stories. So this is not about that. This is really about, this story really starts after loss, after falling down completely. And it's not primarily about the comeback. It's not about getting to the pinnacle again. You might think in the beginning that's what it's about, and you might think that initially, but it's really not about that. And I think that's what makes this story really unique. And it's way more about the internal battles, which I don't think I've really seen in a tennis film before. I think tennis films haven't so far been too realistic in how they showcase them, because tennis is a very lonely sport. It's by yourself. You're on an island. You win or lose, it's completely your fault, and you're in your head a lot, because it's a thinking sport. It's also one of the few sports where you have time between points. You have 10, 15, 20 seconds in between points, so you're always thinking between these points. You're not thinking, and then you're dealing with pressure, and you have time to feel the pressure and think about it. And then on changeovers, if you're losing, you're thinking about that, and what do you need to change, and why is this not working, and why am I not playing better? And it's a very mental sport that I don't think has been appreciated in film yet, and the internal struggles that players deal with. And especially in tennis, a lot of times, and there's so many examples of this, the people involved are your parents a lot. And there's a lot of professional players as well that their first coach, and maybe still their coach, is their dad or their mom. And that's also unique to tennis. In other sports like basketball, you usually don't have your parent that's your coach. Same for football. But in tennis, it is pretty common, and I had my dad as a coach as well. So it makes it very complicated. It makes it like the lines are very blurred between coach and parent, and from experience and people I know, and especially in this story, Wildcard, that line is blurred completely, and honestly, most of the time, they're more in the role of coach than they are parent, which comes with its own repercussions. And that's something that's a really powerful part of this too, Wildcard, is that we're really talking about a relationship where it's a coach-student relationship, but you're the dad as well, which makes everything very complex and can make, truthful communication hard and creates a whole host of issues which will be explored. So I think that's something else that's, really unique about tennis. And we're shooting this in November, like I said, so, follow along if you kind of want to follow this journey and kind of getting this made. And we're building right now this audience, so obviously sign up for my newsletter to keep getting updates on everything, especially when we finish it and it releases. But that's basically the goal with all of this, is to really build indie film, because this is what it is. Wildcard's an indie film, and we need an audience for that. We don't have Warner Brothers or some huge studio paying millions upon millions for marketing. So a lot of our marketing is going to have to be grassroots, which is, another reason for doing this. So please follow along, and, any questions, definitely put them in the comments. I answer all of them. And yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys next week.